called out or actors. There might be a description of the use case, what it's about, a priority. How important is this use case? This should help in a couple ways. One is it helps you do your risk analysis on the use case. Priority is going to a lot to do with the impact of any problems associated with the use case. And it also should be priority from point of view of developers building the use case. So, I mean, if you're in an agile kind of world and you're in a sprint, and there's a big pile of use cases that are to be created, and one would hope that the developer would select higher priority use cases first, and then obviously that would help you test those earlier as well. And the same is true in a V model, sequential model, that we want to build the more important stuff earlier if that's possible. Frequency of use, another item that would be useful to have. Preconditions, things which should be true before the use case starts, and conversely, post-conditions, things that should be true when the use case is complete. Often helpful to have those explicitly called out. And then we have the typical workflow and the exception workflow exactly as before. So, obviously some of this information has various uses to you as a tester, generating tests, and of course your traceability, if you will, of your test cases might be a little bit finer grained if you have a higher level of formality. So let's take a look at formal use case. So here's the first part, translating the e-commerce purchase use case that we've seen before into a formal use case. We have an ID here, 2.001. We have name as e-commerce purchase. The actor in this case is the customer. Description, allow customer to complete a transaction, right? Purchasing the items in the shopping cart. Priority, of course, would be very high. Frequency of use, 25% of customers. So we're saying that's our conversion rate, if you will. 25% of the customers that come to our website and browse will buy. Lucky us. And up to 1,000 customers per day. Again, lucky us. 1,000 people making a purchase a day, you're a pretty happy guy. Now, preconditions, one or more items in the shopping cart, customers logged in, customers clicked on checkout. Now, notice that, so what I mean by being a little bit more fine-grained, notice that these preconditions were things that were happening, some of them were anyway, as part of the use case before, as part of the typical workflow. And now we're saying, no, we're actually going to break this out. We're going to have a separate browsing workflow and a separate logging in workflow, conceivably, and you only get here when you actually decided to make a purchase. So it can be a little bit more fine-grained, which would mean, of course, more use cases. Okay, typical workflow at the top. This is pretty straightforward, nothing really unusual, nothing surprising here, right? Almost straight from the previous use case. Exceptions, again, pretty much straight out of the previous use case. And then post-conditions order is active in the system. So that's, again, what we would assume was going to be true at the end before. So not too much difference. Somewhat more verbiage went from a one-page to a two-page, a little bit more specificity. Personally, as a tester, if somebody gives me an informal use case, am I going to whine at them about, oh, you should have given me a formal one? No, absolutely not. I mean, I'm happy to get information to use as a test basis and as a test oracle, and I'll make use of it. I'm not going to complain about, you should be giving me formal use cases. Now, of course, if there's ambiguity in the use case, whether it's formal or informal, then that's something that you need to bring up and ask questions. And if you've gotten the use case early enough before the coding of that use case started, there's some real value in you pointing out the ambiguities, because that ambiguity can then be removed and result in lower likelihood of a problem in the implementation of the use case. So, good to get these documents, whether formal or informal. Good, even better to get them before the coding of them starts. And if you're on whether you're on a V model, sequential type of waterfall-y sort of project, or whether you're on an agile project, either way, you want to try to get involved early. Get involved early before the coding starts for these use cases, so that you can help clean them up. Okay. All right. So this is a pretty compact webinar, comparatively speaking. I've gone through application of use cases for testing of typical and exceptional workflows. And this kind of rounds out something that we looked at previously, the decision tables, which test detailed business rules, and then state diagrams to test the state-dependent systems. Now, if you happen to miss those webinars, then I would encourage you to go to the digital library and take a listen to them. They're recorded there, just as this one is, and this one will be posted as well. So use cases now are a nice complement to those, because we can cover the workflows. So that's very much at the user perspective, right? We could say that the decision tables look at the inner workings of the system from a logical perspective of conditions and actions and so forth, kind of separated from the question of, well, who's doing that and why. It's just, does every action happen only under the appropriate set of conditions? And then states, of course, kind of looking at things from the systems perspective of, what are the sequence of states that we're going through, and how are those handled. And then use cases, now we've got the user perspective. So we've kind of looked at the problem from all the different sides, which is good. It's nice to have those techniques available to do that. So you can do a whole range of different kinds of business logic testing with these three techniques. And subsequent webinars, when we talk about some of the other advanced techniques, we're also going to give you some other ideas about how to test business logic in other new and interesting ways. So there are a lot of ways to go at this, and this use case is a good one to have in your toolbox, if you will. Okay, so that concludes this the body of the presentation. I'll put the advertisement up here while we go through question and answer. And at this point, I will take questions, and let's get this question box up here as big as I possibly can. Okay. See, start off. We got a question from Bill Basinski. How do we download print slides before webinar begins? Yeah, the slides are posted on the basic library, and let's see. Go out to rbcs-us.com, and it's on the basic library. You should be able to find the slides there. Obviously, the webinar is now over, but for future reference, this is a good practice to get in. Go out there before, download the slides, and then you can have them on your PC. That way, if anything happens to your connection, you can always dial in to get the audio of the presentation or follow along on the PDF slides, and dial into the phone line and go through it that way. So, yeah, good idea to do that. If you have any trouble with that, then do let me know, and we'll try to get that worked out. Let's see. Yeah, we got some comments from Barbara and Glenda saying we're